Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match reaction to Leeds 1, Everton 0. And we're back for another season of pain and suffering. It was an atrocious performance. Everton went down limply to Leeds. Just to add insult to injury, it was a controversial penalty that decided it. Chris Kavanagh, long-time nemesis of Everton, cowered to the Leeds fans and gave a really, really soft penalty for handball against James Tarkowski, even though Tarky had his arm pretty much behind his back. Yeah, it's pretty inexplicable how that's been given as a penalty. But Chris Kavanagh has it in for Everton. We know that he shouldn't really. At this point, it's almost as bad as, Clattenburg got taken off Everton games for one bad derby. Kavanagh's done what Clattenburg's done to us in that derby on multiple occasions now. The amount of times he's persistently refereed with almost a bias against Everton is ridiculous. I've still not got over the fact that he sent Carlo Ancelotti off post-match for having a polite word with him. And when I mean polite, I mean actually polite. He wasn't giving him a rollicking or anything. There's so many games where he's done us dirty, and this is probably one of the worst. I thought the whole game, credit to Leeds, by the way. Leeds were up for it. We knew they would be. I was always fearful of this fixture as soon as the fixture list came out. Their fans were vociferous, really good atmosphere at Elland Road, first game back in the league, as you'd expect. But the referee bowed to it. Every time they screamed for a foul, he blew the whistle. Every time they screamed for a throw-in, he gave them the throw-in their way. And of course, as soon as they screamed very loudly for a handball, that wasn't a handball, he blew his whistle and pointed to the spot. So, you know what? You're up against it for starters with that, but let's be honest, Leeds' performance or referee's performance aside, we were beaten before the ball was kicked today with the team set up. It was just, we were on a hiding to nothing. The team setup was horribly, horribly wrong. James Garner at left back, and I'll be honest, he didn't do terribly at left back. He was actually one of the better performers, but that's really scraping the barrel. No one can hold their head high from that first half. It was atrocious. Leeds just peppered us for 45 minutes, and we barely crossed the halfway line. I think we had one touch in the opponent's box in the first half, which is absolutely not good enough. It's not good enough against an Arsenal or a Liverpool, never mind a newly promoted side. It was embarrassing that first half, and no credit, they did pick their heads up and they rallied in the second half and had a bit of a better go of it, but it still wasn't good enough. And David Moyes wasn't good enough today either. He obviously put that team out in the first place and put it out, set up horribly wrong. And he did very little to counter it. He must have rallied them at half-time because they did come out a bit better, but 2 substitutes in the whole game. You're allowed to make 5 these days. And I know the squad's threadbare, but Dwight McNeil was sat on the bench. Never even came on. I don't know why Dwight McNeil wasn't selected at left back instead of Garner. At least he's a left footer. He'd add a little bit of balance to the team. It might not have improved us massively, but I'm sure it would have done to an extent. But I mean, many people I've spoken to between the team sheet going out and now have suggested that perhaps it's David Moyes trying to make a statement to the club as if to say, pull your finger out. I'm working with limited resources here, and I have to say he is, but I still think he could have done better with the hand he was dealt today. I really don't think he made the most of it. McNeil should have certainly been involved at some stage in some capacity, but he wasn't. Barry came on too late when we were already losing. And that, yeah, I just don't know what he was thinking today. The only thing I can think is, like people have said, is he trying to send this message to the board or whatever to, come on, pull your finger out and make some signings? Because, quite frankly, I do agree with him on that. The club have been shambolic this window, I think. I'm really, really disheartened because this was a summer where we as a club, after a good few years of turmoil and, circling the drain almost, we could really have turned a corner here. And if anything, I'd argue that at this moment in time, from where we were at the back end of last season, we've gone backwards. We've let go a large number of players and not replaced them. Replaced Calvert-Lewin with Tierno Barry, but he's still pretty unknown quantity. From what I've seen, I've not been impressed by him that much. I think he's got strength and pace, which is really good, and we do need that, but I'm not sure if he's the answer to the goal-scoring issues. Dewsbury Hall, I don't think he had a great game today, but I've seen bits of him where he has looked good. I think he will come good. Grealish could be excellent, he could be terrible, we don't know. He could go either way, Jack Grealish, and he'll be, it remains to be seen what will happen there, but that's it as far as major signs go. We need a right back, we haven't got one. We need a right winger, we haven't got one. What are the club playing at? Those two positions should have been addressed long before the season kicked off, and they weren't. And now we're left in this position where, we've had to field a mishmash of a team against the side that, in a normal scenario, we'd have a good chance of beating. And we've gone down limply and lost to them on the opening day, and, all our fans will walk away really disheartened. So the club do really need to pull the finger out, and I'm not saying that, lets Moyes or the players off for today, because I thought it was really poor, but goodness me, they've had, it's nearly 3 months since last season finished, and we've dragged everything out the whole summer. Even tying down Idrissa Gana Gueye took over a month to sort out. No right back and no right winger is sinful. When, they've been a problem position since Moyes walked in the door, since the Friedkins walked in the door. It should have been identified and should have been addressed. And okay, you can say, think more opportunities might open up in the window in the final 2 weeks and that, but, their two positions, we've got literally nobody, especially right wing. We haven't got a proper right winger in the club. We've got an injury-prone Nathan Patterson and an aging Seamus Coleman on the right back position. Okay, O'Brien has done well there, but, we, as it proved today, we need him at centre-back because we've had to turn to Michael Keane, who I don't really rate. And we've got no left-back because Mikalenko's injured. We brought Adam Asnew in, but he doesn't look ready. What is going on? I was really optimistic following the takeover and David Moyes' return, and obviously we had a really optimistic end to last season, but I feel really deflated already. I feel like it's all going the same way as the summer of 2017. The optimism that we had, and we ended up bringing in a load of number 10s and not addressing the positions that we actually needed, and we could end up having another team of crabs like we did that season, where we barely crossed Leeds' halfway line. We barely crossed the halfway line in the first half today. It just isn't good enough, and the club need to pull the finger out, or we're in for a really, really troublesome season, because we've just lost to a newly promoted side. Another newly promoted side in Sunderland won well on Saturday. I don't think the 3 new sides, maybe Burnley, I'm not sure, but the other two, like Leeds and Sunderland, I don't think they're going to be as shambolic as the 3 teams that went back down last year without much of a fight. There is probably going to be a tougher relegation battle this season, and if we're not careful, we could be in that battle. We need to pull our fingers out and recruit some players and recruit properly, because, I'm sick of this club not being able to recruit the correct players to build a cohesive team. It's one thing after another. We released a lot of players. It was a chance to really wipe the slate clean, and we have to get it right. And maybe that is why the club's waiting to see if they can get the right player. But we're effectively writing off the first 4, maybe 6 games of the season, and we're not a club that's that amazing in that amazing a position where we can maybe get away with doing that right now, especially if these newly promoted sides are decent in the end. I don't know, but I'm very nervous after what I've seen tonight. I was worried a little bit after watching the friendly against Roma last week, but that's really left me concerned. And it's sad because it pierces the optimism around the club, and the club should be going into the first game at the new stadium next week, in quite a raucous mood, and the fans will probably feel quite deflated now, and it'll be a big ask to lift the fans and get the fans up for that game on Sunday. And we'll have to be, because, and we've got to hope that we could be as vociferous as Leeds were tonight at Elland Road, because you never know, it might just convince a cowardly referee to give a few decisions in our favour on Sunday if we get it right. Because apparently that's very crucial in swaying games, if tonight was anything to go by. But I'm not going to put it all down to the referee. The Leeds fans made a vociferous atmosphere, and the referee buckled under it, but I feel like our players buckled under it as well. So the players need to be tougher, but also you can't put it all on the players. The manager got the tactics wrong, and the people above the manager have got the recruitment wrong this summer thus far, and there's only 2 weeks to go, so that needs to change rapidly. But yeah, apart from that, I haven't got much to say about the players. I don't think anyone played particularly well. I'm not going to go too deep into it, because someone else on our channel will probably do a player ratings video, and I'll be surprised if anyone gets over a 6 out of 10, because it was such a flat, lifeless performance, and I'm leaving very disappointed. Yeah, and I will leave it at that, because there's not much more to say without getting too depressing about it. But yeah, let us know your opinions, give us your comments, like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.